Hi everybody, and welcome to the third episode in my Vertigo playthrough. I will be transparent and admit that this is my second attempt at recording this particular portion of the game. So what I will do is I will take the exact same paths and choices as I had done in my previous attempt, so as not to, alter what the overall outcome would have been. So in the last episode we were just about to end the first hypnosis with Ed. We gained 100% in both the segments, or the memory segments. So we met Faye, and we also saw the relationship between Faye and Ed flourish, shall we say. But what I'll do is I will load from that point. So as you can see, I didn't make a lot of progress, but this is where the checkpoint would have been. So that's where I will load from. The Julia ends her first session with Ed. And it should load exactly from the point of where I would have pressed the end hypnosis button.
All good?
As I was saying, you have no idea how sorry I am that this didn't work out.
I had to give it a try.
His arrogance knows no end.
So you did it. I'm cured.
I'm not going to cure you. You are.
I don't see why the music is so deep and ominous. It wasn't
We'll
a
continue
threat.
this later. Get some rest.
That's just how, therapy works. It wasn't a threat. So we're going to go into the kitchen, and we're about to meet Ed's Aunt Claire. This is her.
The smile of the nurse that tore you from your mother's arms. Your first lover. Sleepless in an unknown house. In an unknown bed. Staring at an unknown body. Spiders lining up to dive
I
into
interrupted
your
her at this
empty
point,
mouth.
so I'm going to do that again.
Oh, Doctor. How long have you been here?
I had just walked in. Who's the poem by?
Oh gosh. I like to come up with verses while I work.
Oh, so then this is where Ed gets it from.
I certainly
from my
wouldn't
brother,
call it
his father.
poetry.
It runs in the family.
Where is his father?
Where did I put the sauce?
I'm going to help Claire out and tell her where the source is, but as you can tell right off the bat, Claire isn't quite all there herself. She's either a little bit unstable, or she's hiding something, one or the other.
Oh, it's right over there. I'll get
Oh,
it.
don't be silly. Eddie loves three-bean chili. He used to ask me to make it all the time when he was little.
So I chose to ask about whether or not he spent a lot of time with her.
Did you spend a lot of time together?
Care to eat lunch with me?
As you can see, very evasive.
I usually eat with Ed upstairs, but it's no big deal if he eats alone for once. Besides, I made enough chili to feed an army.
I chose to suggest that she eats with Ed.
I appreciate it, but I think it would be better for Ed if you ate together. I think I might need a little fresh air to take a break and maybe organize.
I didn't
some
notice
of
the
my
eggs and
notes.
toast sat on the side. How much food
You
is this
should
woman
check out the
making?
dock. Plenty of sun at this time of day. I'll make you a sandwich.
Again,
What do you think about Ed?
the music makes me
He's a
worry
little
about
stubborn, isn't
what
he?
she's doing to the sandwich.
Will he walk soon?
Given that he's my patient, just because she's his aunt doesn't mean I can really divulge any theories, so I'm just going to say it's still soon.
It's still too soon to venture a hypothesis.
Well,
You know?
I guess he should just focus on doing
It's a vague
his
enough answer to keep her
exercises,
quiet.
right?
What exercises?
Ham, cheese, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise?
I'm going to go with the vegetarian option again,
Yes, but no ham if you don't mind.
which apparently she does not approve of. Could you imagine the look I would have got if I had said vegan?
Well, if I was able to help him last time, I'm sure a doctor like you will manage.
Help him with what exactly?
Vertigo.
Vertigo?
Oh, let me tell you, Eddie was never afraid of heights as a child. No pirate captain ever is. You see that tree? The one with the deck chair? There used to be a little tree house in it. Ed would spend hours on end up there. My brother built it for him. Then Eddie turned it into his very own pirate ship. It was all he could talk about. Pirate this,
the
pirate
soundtrack to this
that.
game is all over the place.
He
It's
was
so
obsessed
manic.
with pirates ever since I got him a book by Salgari. And with his love of pirates came a love of reading too. And see, that's where the writing began. Mystery solved.
I don't mean to pry, but
We get a little bit of backstory there as to why Ed is in the line of work that he is. I chose to query about his parents.
where are his parents?
Off you go then, Doctor.
I don't think it would have mattered what I
Or you
chosen
might
to
not
ask
have
about.
time to eat your sandwich.
I think she would have interrupted me either way. So we're outside. We've managed to escape crazy Auntie Claire. Let's just check our objectives whilst we have the chance. So I need to relax before the afternoon session with the sub-tasks of looking for a good place to sit outside, breathe and meditate. Then I need to move on to review the session notes, and then I'll have some lunch. Now this little, like, safety hut area, viewpoint, whatever you want to call it, there's nothing in there, so I won't bother wandering in. But we will take a walk down to the end of the dock for a brief interaction with the lake.
First, you have to pick a stone. This one? Julia, sweetie. That's the best skipping stone I have ever seen. Now, remember how to do it? Knees bent, hiney out, arms back, limp wrist, writing fingers, stone level with the ground. Eyes on the water. Flick your wrist and the stone. Skips! Flick your wrist and... Oh, that's okay. I'm sure next time will work out better.
So I take that to assume that that was a memory of Julia's from her own childhood. A happy memory, it seems. But whether or not Dr. Julia Lomas here is harbouring some sort of dark past, I'm sure we will discover as the game goes on. But I don't think skipping stones would be the root of that. And I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to sit down in this comfy looking deck chair. You can tell she's so tempted by that sandwich. But we have some pressing work to get on with. I chose to examine the phone first. While we're still not entirely sure what Lou has done wrong and why Julia is ghosting him. So, bearing in mind we don't know what he's done, why they're fighting, I don't think I answered. No, I chose not to answer. You know, since we're technically at work. If I try to call Robert, I don't get an answer, so I think I just won't bother on that occasion. Or maybe I should. I did say I wasn't going to deviate, so we'll try it anyway.
The number you are trying to reach is currently unavailable.
Right, this is where we get to do a little bit more
Ed is
assessment.
reluctant and even hostile towards therapy. Why?
So, my gut reaction to that question was that perhaps he's keeping the truth from himself. You know, as we saw with the hypnosis, he's clearly suppressing certain memories. So I'm going to go with that same option again.
He's blocking out a certain memory. One he doesn't want to remember. Something too painful. I've never seen such an intense case of vertigo before.
Again, I went with it's real, but he's exaggerating. So I will go with that option again. But my logic being, I don't think Ed is necessarily exaggerating. I think it could be induced. I'm very suspicious of Auntie Claire's cooking. But that's just my assumption at this point. But I will choose that option once again.
He's not the first writer I've known to exaggerate his symptoms. To get attention, make people feel sorry for him, make it more realistic in his mind, which is so used to fiction. Does she exist?
Now, this is a very interesting point that Dr. Lomas brings up. As I observed in my previous attempt at recording this, Faye has only really been made known to us, the player, in the form of flashbacks, memories, through Ed's perspective. So we really only have Ed's word to go on, which is kind of the whole point of the themes throughout this game. Again, if for anybody who's familiar with the film, certain themes, again, don't really want to spoil too much, but there are certain themes that would definitely justify or further evidence the possibility that Faye doesn't exist, or Ed is making it all up, or Ed thinks she's real when she isn't. So for that reason, I chose to go with the bottom option, which is she's a character from a novel. Though at this point that could be entirely wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised if Faye was a character Ed's working on for some book. Whether she exists or not, she may hold the key to all of this, or at least one of the keys. What about that earlier Vertigo episode? And his parents? Something happened in his childhood. But Claire isn't going to tell me. Maybe Robert? Or Ed himself, if I can break through this wall he's put up. I'll have to give it a try.
So that's one task down. We've reviewed the session notes. We haven't meditated though. So breathe and meditate. I feel like I must have missed a trick there. But screw it, we're going to eat the sandwich. At the time of recording this video, it's coming up to lunchtime and I very much would like to make a sandwich myself. But I don't have any lettuce or tomato, which is a shame.
Who am I speaking to?
Dr. Lomas?
Who is this?
Sheriff Reyes. Dr. Leonard gave me your number.
How are you, Sheriff?
Look, I don't want you to breach patient-doctor confidentiality or anything, but if something comes up in your conversations with Miller...
Is Ed under investigation? Is he the suspect of a crime?
No, not exactly.
If I understood correctly, Ed hasn't committed any crime.
Well, we'll have to see about that.
So, will you give me a hand?
I think I chose the we'll have to see option, so I'll stick with that once again.
We'll have to see about that.
Ah. Touché, Doctor.
I would settle for anything at all.
Again, I'm not entirely certain on the rules and regs and laws of patient confidentiality over in the States. Though over here, I think it's quite murky. So with that
Maybe
understanding,
someone saw something.
she might be able to divulge certain
I'm
things.
on my way to his neighbors as we speak.
The Franklin?
Nick, you there?
Sorry, I gotta go. What is it this time, Adam?
Tell me you saw my email with the slogan proposals.
Yeah, great stuff, kid. I'm not sure which one I like the best.
I like the sixth one.
Yeah. That one was,
Vote for Sheriff Reyes, the sneaky bastard who would have known there were only 3 slogans if he'd read the...
Adam, do I have to tell your aunt and uncle you have no respect for your elders?
You at the ranch yet?
I'm on my way.
Look, if anyone asks, I was working on Saturday night, okay? I skipped the monthly dinner.
Hello, Samuel. Did you know your nephew is a sneaky bastard?
You wouldn't dare.
Hey, I'll check that out once I got a signal again. Okay?
Okay, so this is Sheriff Nick Reyes. This is the gentleman that was on the phone with Dr. Lomas just a moment ago. And we are actually going to play a short segment as him. The colleague on the other end of the radio was his subordinate Adam, who happens to be the nephew of the couple we are visiting here. And these are Ed's neighbours who Nick wants to question regarding all the crazy crap that's going on, I guess. But right off the bat, we've got ominous music. Something doesn't feel right. I'm going to investigate everything because that is what I did previously, even though I know what the outcomes are going to be. So we can investigate this pickup truck, but there's nothing of great importance here. When I investigate this fishing gear, Sheriff Reyes is going to just quickly touch base with Adam to see if they were planning a fishing trip.
Adam, were you planning on fishing with your uncle anytime soon?
No? Why? He hasn't invited me since I told him about Marcelo.
No reason. Just curious.
It's probably for the best, to be honest.
Okay, and we'll notice that there is a key in the ignition. Next, I chose to investigate the tractor, though there isn't much of note in here, so you could probably skip it. But what we do notice is that there is a knight chess piece being used as a decorative piece inside the tractor. I don't particularly think there's any qualms as to whether or not you knock on the door first and then investigate the barn. That's what I did initially, but I am going to head straight to the barn, since the majority of the important stuff is actually inside the house. Again, more ominous music. Really
Samuel!
doesn't set a
Are you
good
there?
tone.
It's me! Sheriff Reyes!
What I am going to do, I'm going to maybe just skip ahead a little bit, if it'll let me. No, it's not going to let me. So over here, you'll notice we can investigate the stable. And it's quite concerning because at first I thought this horse was dead. But it's not. It's still alive, still breathing, but as you can see, it's in desperate need of some attention. It's clearly been starved. He's probably got some sort of bacterial infection because he's literally lying in his own feces.
How long have you been here like this?
He hasn't been cleaned up or looked after for what is potentially several days, maybe even a week. So we're just going to see if he's responding, which he is. But he's too weak to escape the pen.
Oh, there. Tranquilo.
So we've got no water in his bucket. So we need to fill this up. We need to turn on the tap and run some water into that bucket for him.
Shit.
So we'll turn the tap on first. Poor little thing.
El gusto es mío.
And we also need to give him something to eat. So there are some carrots that haven't gone rotten. The fruit and everything else is on the turn, but the carrots seem to be in a relatively edible state. So let's just quickly give the horse something to eat. Though at this point I definitely would have radioed in for a vet or something. There's not much else to do on this floor, so we can move on to the next. There is a photograph and a workbench over here we can interact with. It's actually a photograph of Adam when he graduated the police academy.
Adam, care to tell me why my assistant graduated with blue hair?
Ah, no. I told my Aunt Esther to get rid of that picture. I made a bet with Marcello. If I graduated before he finished his thesis, I had to do it. Where'd you find it?
I'll tell you later.
So that's the second mention of Marcello, so I'm not sure what the relationship between Adam and Marcello is, but clearly they are close. Now, one thing I just noticed that I didn't do previously is that there is a ladder here that goes up to a walkway, but I don't think we can get past these sacks. Oh, but there is a tool bench I didn't interact with before, so I will do that this time. Nothing seems to be missing. I'm just going to make Nick move a little bit faster there. So that was the only real interactive point on that level, so we can move up one more. And here, again, not a lot to investigate. I don't think we can look out of that window, but we do have a hay bale over here we can examine. So I'm going to do that. And there's a very sus looking glove here. So somebody has lost a glove. At first I was concerned there may be a hand inside, but that is not the case. At this point I was growing increasingly more anxious that there was a body up here, which is definitely the feeling I think you're supposed to have. So there's nothing or no one here. I'm going to have a quick peek out of this window.
Adam?
Hold on, Nick. Sorry, I'm back. Everything okay?
The big tree. In the field behind the barn. Who's under it?
Oh. My cousin Leonard. I never met him. What was it? 50 years ago? He was stillborn. My aunt almost died. They had to remove her uterus or ovaries or something. Nick? You still there?
Sounds terrible. Thanks, man. I'll see you at the station.
Well, that's just awful. I'm sure that was an incredibly traumatic experience for Esther and her husband, Sam. The loss of a child isn't easy under any circumstances. But we will see the true weight that carried as we do further investigations. Sheriff Reyes also seemed to be quite troubled by that news, so I do wonder if there's any deeper meaning behind any of that. So we have the other half of the pair of gloves. So someone's missing a whole pair of gloves. But it would stand to good reason that maybe someone fell off the roof, though there doesn't seem to be any other evidence of that being the case. And I didn't notice this in my previous go at this section, but we can examine the birds over in the distance, which apparently Nick finds very calming. And that's all there is to see on the roof. I'll admit, at this point I was incredibly relieved that there wasn't any bodies at this point. Ooh, and we can see that glove is actually stuck in the panels of the roof. So someone got themselves into quite a pickle. Presumably Sam. But that's all we can do in the barn. I'm going to move on. We're going to move on to the house. Unfortunately, you can't run down the stairs, so this is as fast as I can go. There we go. Just say goodbye to the horse.
No running for now. Get your strength back.
Nick, you there? half an hour.
Oh, no.
Hey, I can hear Frankie Lane. How is he?
I chose to tell him the truth and said that he hadn't been cared for in days.
I don't think your uncle's taking very good care of him.
Seriously? Oh man, it's really losing it. You'll be here on time, right?
You better fill in for me, alright?
Again? Sneaky bastard.
So Adam doesn't seem overly concerned that the horse isn't being looked after, but then Sheriff Reyes didn't exactly go into the details. He didn't divulge the extent in which he looks malnourished. But it's little hint drops like that that would indicate something's not right over here. And as you see, there's nobody on the porch. So we're just going to knock on the door, or ring the doorbell, sorry. To which we are not going to get an answer. So we now have the option to try the door. In fact, I missed something, so I'm just going to quickly keep searching. Oop. There is a little something on the side of the house that's worth noting. So we'll have a quick look here. And we have got a telephone box. And as you can see right now, that the wires have clearly been tampered with. Okay, now we can move into the house. And as you can see by the very faint logo that appears in the centre of the screen, each and every decision I make is having some sort of impact. At least I assume it is. We actually are just going to force our way in now. Well, I say force, the door has been left unlocked. So it does make the job slightly easier. And as you can see, he's already got his hand over his holster. He's clearly suspicious of what he might find in here. Rightfully so. The music is giving me some doubts. The breakfast on the table looks easily a week old. We've got mould and all the rest of it and flies. It might even be a bit older than that. I'm not an expert in microbiology or bacteria and all the rest of it, so I'm just guessing that's about a week's worth of decay. There's not a lot to interact with in the kitchen, apart from this money jar.
Well, at least they didn't rob you.
So from that deduction, we can rule out burglar. I don't believe there to be anything else in the living room to interact with. As you can see, there's been no signs of, disruption. Nothing's been turned over. So we're just going to continue through the house. The first room here on the right is Esther's crafting room, stroke laundry room. And we can examine this little embroidery that she was working on. And as you can see, by a lot of the things that she's made, she never quite got over the stillbirth. One would assume she wasn't offered the support that she probably needed at the time. You know, she still makes things that kind of harness onto the memory of the idea of having a child, at least. Sewing is my therapy, there we go. On the left hand side of the corridor we have the bathroom. Again, there's not really much in here apart from a dripping faucet. So we're going to sort that out because no one likes the sound of a dripping tap. But nothing too suspicious in there.
I know the color, I know the place, I find no side, I didn't whisper, unravel the world, take that away. Jesus, no matter how far.
At this point I was very reluctant to barge in. I was concerned that someone would come up behind me. But the game's not giving us a choice. As you can see, it's just the radio alarm clock that has gone off. However, it says the wrong time. It thinks it's midnight, which is definitely not the case. So at some point the power was cut. Not unless the telephone box and the power are all linked. That's not quite how we wire things up over in the UK, so I'm not sure if that's the case. Okay. There's not a lot else to look at in this room, but we can go into the ensuite. And we see a silhouette in the shower, which is a little distressing. One would assume the worst. But all is well. It is a house coat that I'm guessing was washed and is being left to dry inside rather than outside. I do not question these things. So that's all there is for the master bedroom. Actually, I tell a lie. We can check the wardrobe. However, there's nothing inside, just clothes, as you would expect. But Sheriff Reyes has noticed a briefcase on the top of the wardrobe, which we can't actually interact with. So even though we've noticed it, there's no means of us investigating it. Now, I mentioned earlier about the trauma of the stillbirth and how Esther, particularly I imagine, and Samuel as well, never quite got over it. This is the evidence of such. Considering the event was 50 years ago, they still have the crib and all of the things that they bought and made for Leonard. Very sad, but also quite disturbing. Their grief was never dealt with properly. Again, Sheriff Reyes seems to have quite a strong reaction to that, so one makes me wonder, is there a bit of a soap opera kind of situation going on here? Now we are at the last room of the house, the basement, which you don't realise going in because that's where that cutscene broke us off. So I think the game deliberately didn't want us to find the basement until the end. And instantly our objective has changed. Nick's reaction would indicate that there is something foul in the basement, which is never a good sign. Again, assuming that the house has been abandoned or left in this state for about a week, this fluorescent tubing is probably overheated. But we're going to interact with it anyway.
Ah, fuck!
There's not much else to interact with in that corner, so I'm going to move on straight to the other side of the basement, where the game automatically forces us into this far end.
Nick, the mayor just left. Fill you in? Nick? Everything all right?
I chose to turn off the walkie-talkie for the sheer reason being that if he doesn't respond, Adam might send a backup. If he radios in to reassure Adam, it might look a bit suspicious. It might look as though we were trying to cover something up. So I'm going to turn off the walkie-talkie. So here we go. I don't think you need to be a professional to already deduce what is most likely under this blanket, given the fact that Nick can't bear to smell it, and there are flies everywhere, but here goes nothing. And there you go. So the game kind of psychs you out a little bit, doesn't let you see what's beneath the tarp. So I'm going to leave it there for now. We are now back with Julia. So we've now met Sheriff Nick Reyes, and we can see that there is a present timeline plot unfolding, something criminal, something strange, as well as things that have happened in the past with Ed that we are uncovering through the memories. Whether or not all of this will synchronize to one outcome, or if these are just two separate plot threads that bear slight significance to one each other, we'll see. But it's very interesting. So thank you very much for watching this part of the playthrough. Sorry this episode's slightly longer, but I really wanted to just get to the end of that segment. If you've enjoyed this so far, please be sure to give the video a little thumbs up. And if you're wanting to come back to see more, I do hope you do that. So until next time, ciao.